Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm your host, Sankapeezy, here today on December 14th at Cryptosomniac, here to bring you everything crypto related, where the markets never sleep and neither do we. Today, I am going to present to you a new ICO called Hdac. So I must disclose this is a paid ICO review of Hdac, and I like to retain my opinions a little bit here on the channel when I talk about an ICO. So I'm going to try to provide you the best information possible about what they are and what they do, and then tell you a little bit about what I think of it. And it's a complex idea and white paper. I read it, and I'm going to try to break it down and walk you through the important facets of it and help you understand it. I actually think it's a pretty decent idea, and it is a competitor to IOTA, and I want to explain the differences and why I think it can be better. I mean, obviously, any ICO, you guys know that they're all speculative in nature, but they are an opportunity, of course, to get in at a very early stage and make a lot of money. So I'm going to talk about why I think it is better than IOTA and what IOTA does differently. I think both have their own use cases. So I'm going to start with this presentation here, a couple slides, and then we'll break back to the website and cover it a little bit more, show you some just key things. So Hdac, what is Hdac? Hdac stands for Hyundai Digital Asset Currency, and to briefly explain it is a blockchain basically backed by Hyundai, and Hyundai Motors, as many of you know, is a car company, an automobile company. And what this blockchain's use case is for the Internet of Things, machine-to-machine learning. So if you guys know anything about IOTA, and same here, it's used to help transact and let smart devices and smart devices and even people and things to basically talk to one another. I think I read in the paper that there's something along the lines of 30 billion smart devices, or there will be by the year 2020. And I think I've read even in other articles just online that it could even be more than that. It could be something over like 100 billion. I think at the rate that we're expanding for smart devices is remarkable as of recently. It's kind of like blockchain in a little way, right? I mean, we're on this like exponential curve right now. It feels like, I feel like the Internet of Things is one of those things that is, it's kind of creeping, and then all of a sudden when Alexa and your all those little smart devices we have in our homes now, they really start to talk to each other. I think it's going to really take off, and that's when I think a lot of these projects are going to succeed that deal with the interoperability of machine-to-machine learning and the Internet of Things and what have you. So, that is it in a jiffy. They pride themselves on a number of different things, including authentication and identity verification. They have a facial recognition system in their I guess you could call it blockchain and protocol that helps basically secure what they're doing and validate identities. And I think it's really cool. I think the iPhone 10 recently switched to facial recognition. I think they said it was something along the lines of 50 times more secure than thumbprint identification, facial recognition, that is. So that is something that Hdac implements in their blockchain, which I thought is interesting. Some of the key statistics. So they raised 13,000 Bitcoin in their pre-sale, predominantly from Asian markets. It is not something well known about here, guys. This ICO is a little bit under the radar, so I do hope that you watch it and learn a little bit about it. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I don't want to be biased, but I like it. I like the idea, and it's very unknown here in the West, and that's part of the reason why they asked me to speak on it. It is very little known. I had not heard about it, to be honest, before I read into it. But I read it. I read the white paper. I read several videos they sent me. Watched a couple of other people's videos, and I'm actually sold. I like it. I think as any ICO is, you can invest what you can afford to risk or afford to lose, but it is unknown. It is not very well discovered, and that is where all of the potential really lies, right? Is finding those projects that nobody else knows about yet. So this, I think, has the potential to be one of them. So let's move on and talk about some other things. So the tech, again, it deals with the Internet of Things, and we're going to talk about it. And in fact, we're going to compare it to a couple of other chains in just a moment. But it has some advantages over the existing chains. Now, its speed is one of them. So they actually have these two chains. They have a public chain and a private chain offering enterprises. This is basically an enterprise-ready solution at this point. Ethereum isn't entirely, it is enterprise-ready and it isn't. They just recently added ZK Snarks, which affords financial institutions a little bit more privacy and security in that facet, but they have kind of like this on-off switch here where you can utilize the public chain or the private chain, and both speeds right now are faster than both Bitcoin and Ethereum. They process 160 per second on the public chain and 500 on the private chain, with intentions to get that up to 1,000. Conversely, Bitcoin is on the more order of magnitude of around 7 per second, and Ethereum isn't much better, maybe double that at around 14, 15 per second. The block time is 3 minutes, and one of the most interesting things, they run off of EPOW, which is a modification to the existing proof of work blockchain that Bitcoin uses. It is a more efficient, as described in the paper, a more efficient way. I think I've read somewhere in other papers that Bitcoin utilizes something like $300,000 of electricity a day. That's absurd. That is crazy. Wow. Dynamic block size. So they have a dynamic block size, which is can vary up to 8 megabytes. And one of the key differentiators here, and we'll talk about more about this compared to IOTA, is that it is run off a blockchain, not the Tangle. And hold that thought for just a moment. Looks like I forgot one slide here. I'm going to refresh this. So this table here highlights actually some of the differences here across some of the different chains. So one thing I actually want to talk about here is this thing in the middle, the consensus algorithm that I mentioned runs off of EPOW, a modification to proof of work. But as many of you know, Ethereum has plans to shift to proof of stake. While there are many advantages to proof of work also, I think there are a lot of great things on proof of stake. But one thing I want to point out about proof of work is that it's not designed such that the rich get richer. In proof of stake, when you acquire a lot of the tokens, the consensus algorithm shifts to one that basically the more token that you hold in proof of stake, the more you're going to acquire and actually earn and stake and earn as a dividend. That is not the same in proof of work. So it is not the rich get richer type of scenario. And that is the biggest thing I like about proof of work. And again, these transaction speeds here are much higher right now than Ethereum and Bitcoin. Of course, Ethereum has plans to change that. But of course, you're competing with something that Ethereum hopes or promises to do in the future. So keep that in mind, when you invest in things. Right now, Hdac is running at, like I said, these numbers here. So even faster than Ethereum is already. But let's now talk about IOTA, the Internet of Things, and Hdac. So many similarities here between the two, but I'm going to highlight some of the advantages that Hdac has over them. So yes, they do meet in the middle. They both are targeting and marketing to the Internet of Things and serving as the domain for which the smart devices will be able to communicate with one another. Some of the advantages that Hdac offers are it prides itself on being secure. I mentioned the facial recognition features that it had over IOTA. Additionally, the blockchain technology that it runs off of is, of course, not the Tangle technology that IOTA runs off of. Something that I could foresee happening in the future. Blockchain's been around for a while. It is proven. Tangle is very new. In fact, I don't know of any other project that utilizes Tangle technology. It is new. I mean, it's a fantastic idea. Don't get me wrong. It has potential. But, of course, I think people will be skeptics at first, as they are of anything that is new. And I think blockchain will be easier to integrate into basically financial enterprises in general. So I think blockchain technology that Hdac utilizes is actually a leg up on what IOTA has in that regard. Like I said, it is going to be difficult for, big guy, a CEO of a company that says, hey, we want to utilize Hdac as a method to communicate with our smart devices. But that would be a lot harder to also do that on IOTA. Like I said, IOTA is unproven. It is very young. It is unproven. The Tangle is unproven. And the biggest differentiator in my eyes right now is that Hdac has smart contracts enabled on it. IOTA does not have that yet. IOTA is still working on that. There are no guarantees in this, in this life in general, right? So these are things to keep in mind. I think these are things that Hdac has an advantage over IOTA. Let's quickly talk about the ICO. I am going to break to the website and scroll over and just show you some different things. I don't want to bore you with my presentations, but I do like to do them to clean things up for you and present things in a decent manner. But the token generation event is being held. It's live right now. We'll break free to the page, but here's the interesting thing. So not a lot of tokens are being dished out for the ICO. There are 12 billion tokens basically that will be mined over the course of 170 years. This is a proof of work blockchain again, and a lot of that will be mined, and the block reward is 5,000, which happens every 6 years. So the block reward will start out at 5,000. In 6 years, happens to 2,500, then 12.5, etc. The price we'll talk about over on the website as to how many, what does 5,000 look like? What is 5,000 Hdac tokens? We'll talk about that in a moment. But only 7% is dedicated to the ICO and 7% for the team, and most of it will be mined later. So like I said, they raised 13,000 Bitcoin already, which is equivalent to about $200 million right now. Obviously, Bitcoin's going crazy and fluctuating, but they're looking to raise about 6,000 more Bitcoin. So this is a big ICO, guys. This is a big ICO. No one's been talking about it because it just has not had the marketing. Their CEO does not speak English natively, which is a challenge, but I think that represents opportunity at the same time because no one has heard about it. This thing is very popular in Korea. We're going to talk a little bit more about Hyundai and the correlation there. Let's just break free to the website. So this is the end, I believe, of my presentation, and let's talk about it. So the website's here. They have 8 days left as of today. That's December 14th right now. The ICO runs until this 22nd. The minimum contribution amount is 0.1 of a Bitcoin. You can hit join now and you'll get all the directions that you need. We won't go through that process, but check it out. And I encourage you guys to all check out all of this information myself. But there is a bonus of 400 Hdac per 0.1 BTC. So the more you donate, obviously, the more you're going to get. 4,000 DAC basically for every 1 Bitcoin you donate. There's a great video on here. It's pretty informative. I'm not going to play it for you. I think that would be a little redundant. You guys can do that yourself if you're interested. Here it is. By 2025, they predict 30 billion connected devices. I've read statistics even much higher than that, that blow that number out of the water. Of course, as the Internet of Things grows, this is really interesting. But the Hdac token is imperative to the system. In fact, they have a number of companies and things in the works right now, and we'll scroll through some of them. They have a luxury building called the Hdac, which will be utilizing this. They have a cafe being built that will utilize this in the very, very near future. Their features are listed here. They connect chains. The exchange rate. So you mentioned, or I mentioned earlier, so 0.1 Bitcoin is worth 2,200 DAC, and there is a bonus included of 400 DAC per every 0.1, and they're hoping to raise another 6,000 BTC. Let's take a look. So the use of the proceeds here, I'm going to walk you through not only the roadmap here. I think you can look at this. I want to talk to you a little bit about the blueprint and quickly scroll through the white paper and some interesting things that I thought I saw when I was going through the white paper. Now, something also that I want to mention is that the CEO is the niece and nephew of the Hyundai Motors Corporation. So his aunt and uncle own Hyundai Motors, and from what I read, they are going to tap into that brand. They're going to tap into that established company that Hyundai Motor is already, and utilize that and leverage that to their ability. And I think that's going to help them pick up. You guys know I love companies that have that established already. Hyundai is a billion dollar corporation, so I think this has a lot of potential for mass adoption. This is got a number of interesting things. So I mentioned the consensus algorithm uses a modified version of proof of work called the EPOW consensus algorithm, which is a modification and basically it helps modify and prevent energy waste due to the excessive mining power that Bitcoin uses. Something that I mentioned that I didn't include in the slide also is the quantum random number generator. So they use a different way to protect your private keys than other blockchains do using this enhanced quantum random number security generator. And that will help propose a method that replaces typical random number generators with quantum random numbers for private blockchains, which will help increase security over what other blockchains do. Again, you'll be able to mine it. I'm quickly scrolling through to see if there's any other points that I really wanted to present to you that I did not in the slides. Security. So yes, I talked about security. The strategy, ecosystem, and partners. So they have a number of partners. I mentioned Hyundai Pay, Double Chain, Hyundai BSNC, Blocko. I haven't heard of these. Elasticsearch, Milcorp, a number of different things. Their timeline is here. So they're releasing a wallet this year. They'll be releasing the Hdac operating environment next year, a second generation of their wallet, the private blockchain, a number of different things. They'll start to release some applications in the year 2019, and then by 2020, the Internet of Things and the high-speed distribution of the processing of this blockchain should be all developed. They attach some appendices and different things regarding what their contract programs will look like. I'm going to go back to the website. Make sure there's nothing that I didn't mention. I think that pretty much covers it. So check them out. Check out their social media. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments of this video below. I think this one is undiscovered. Seriously, I think you should check it out. Always do your own homework. Always do your own research. It is backed by Hyundai BSNC. So I think that is going to, I think this is an interesting one that you should, I think I've said enough. So tell me what you guys think. Leave your comments in the video below. I'd be, I'm really interested in what you guys think. I know you haven't heard about this one probably before. So let me know what you think after you take a look at it. I'll leave the links to some of the important pieces of this information below in the video. And go ahead and follow me over on Facebook, facebook.com/cryptosomniac, and over on twitter.com/cryptosomniac. In fact, you will have a chance to interact and ask questions with us. We live stream from there a lot. So head over there and make sure to hit that thumbs up button on this video. That allows other people to know that this video was worth watching. So thank you guys for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. I will be sure to bring you a lot more amazing content like this in the future. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys all again very soon. So remember, stay a cryptosomniac, because the markets never sleep, and neither do we.